Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. Since it is football season, or at least it's the big game this weekend, I thought it would be a great idea to share some football romance recommendations because personally, that's all I really care about. I don't watch football. I've never really watched the big game. I'm trying to avoid saying the name of it in case they try to demonetize this video. My little romance booktube video, and I'm not gonna lie, I would have to look up what team is playing who this weekend because I have no idea. Most of the things that I know about football I have probably learned through football romances, which isn't saying that much, but hey, you are in the right place if you're looking for some good football romance recommendations. I have 9 of them for you today, although technically some of them are series, so more than 9 books, but we'll just go with 9 for the sake of this title. I probably will be doing more sports romance recommendations, so if you have a specific sport that you want me to do next, please let me know. So let's just jump into it. Here are some of my favorite football romances that you definitely should check out. First on my list is a book that I have to start off with, and one you probably can see coming. It's one of my all-time favorite books. It's a popular book that I'm sure a lot of people have already read, but just in case you haven't, this is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. I know it's big, but I couldn't not include it in this football romance recommendations video because this is iconic. It's a marriage of convenience football romance with the most perfect slow burn romance there is. It is a big book, it is pretty thick, but I swear to God, every page is worth it. I love this book to pieces. I fell so hard for these main characters. Vanessa and Aiden were perfection together. Aiden is the most grumpy, introverted football player there is, and the heroine is his former assistant. Vanessa actually quit because she kind of hated working for him. He was such a grump, such a jerk, and didn't really care much about her. He was a pain to work for, so she quit. But then he enters her life again with this whole marriage of convenience thing. This comes into play because Aiden's work visa is gonna expire eventually. He is originally from Canada, but he's playing for a US football team. So he needs someone to marry so he can stay in the US, and that someone is a girl who does not like him. Vanessa is not his biggest fan after working for him, but he does offer her a great deal, which is to pay off all her student loans, so she does accept with this marriage of convenience. It is super slow burn, but I loved it. I also loved how this was also friends to lovers. These two went from him barely acknowledging her as his assistant to them slowly becoming friends. They're also roommates because they do have to give off the impression that they're happily married and in love, and eventually they do become the love of each other's lives, and it was so wonderful to read. The romance was perfect. If you love a hero, a grumpy hero who is only soft for the heroine, you're gonna love this hero. This is easily one of my top favorites from this author. I've reread it so many times. It is such a fantastic football romance. I also do have this cute little illustrated edition of the book. This is from Indigo, which is a Canadian bookstore, so you might have to pay shipping for this if you get it from the US, but I had to have them because I love this book and I love this author. Next up, if you've ever wanted a romance that had similar vibes to The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, then this next recommendation is for you. This is Homecoming King by Penny Reid. It's another football romance with a marriage of convenience with a slightly grumpy hero, and it does have the added bonus of being set during the holidays, as you might be able to tell by this holiday cover. Homecoming King is the first book in a 3 Kings trilogy. It's about 3 guy best friends, though this first book is the only one that has a football player hero. It's the only sports romance in the series, and I loved it. The main characters actually grew up together. They've known each other since preschool, which is exactly when the heroine had a crush on the hero, so she's had a crush on him for a long time. Now they're all grown up. Rex is this famous football player and Abby is a bartender, and unfortunately for the both of them, their romantic lives are a mess because for the hero, he's kind of been known as like a training wheels kind of guy for women, in that every time a woman dates him, the next guy that she dates is the guy that she ends up marrying. Rex is pretty much the epitome of always the groomsman, never the groom, and he is tired of all the media focusing on this about him. So one day he shows up very drunk at Abby's bar and proposes a marriage of convenience to her, and because she's liked him for such a long time, she does eventually say yes, and it is fairly slow burn. It's not quite as slow burn as Winnipeg, just because Mariana Zapata's slow burns are another level. But these two are so sweet and adorable here. The heroine is a total dork. If you've read Penny Reid before, then you know the unique kind of heroines that she writes. And it's kind of hilarious how even though the heroine has had the biggest crush on the hero for decades, when he finally reciprocates those feelings, she is totally oblivious, and he falls it so hard. I love to see it. My next recommendation is one of this series on my list. The series is kind of like the off-campus series, but just football. It's the Game On series by Kristen Callihan. The series is new adult. It's in college. It's about this group of football player friends who play for the same team, though the later books are set after graduation, so they're in the NFL. I own 3 of the books, though there are 4 total so far. I'm really hoping, like, I've been waiting for that 5th book for such a long time. Someday I hope we'll get it. But let's just talk about the 4 books that are out. This series is perfect if you love good guy heroes who pursue their heroines. These guys are all about their women. I love these characters. I love these books so much. Kristen Callihan's writing is fantastic. I always love the banter in her books. So here's book 1, which is the hookup. It has an opposites attract kind of romance. We have the popular star quarterback and the girl who likes to keep to herself and hates attention. These two have the same class together, and when they first meet, it's like instant sparks. It's kind of lust at first sight. There's so much good chemistry. He goes after her because he wants her desperately, and when they finally do hook up, she wants to keep the relationship as a hookup only, but he wants more. It's super sweet and hot, and I always love to read a romance where the hero falls first. And then book 2, which is my favorite of the series, is The Friend Zone. Oh, by the way, each book in the series can be read as a standalone, so you're good to skip around, though you might as well just read the whole series. But based on this title, you can probably guess that this is a friends to lovers romance, which is a trope that I absolutely love. It is slightly slow burn. I don't know what it is about football and slow burn, but these two just work so well together. Anyway, this is a romance between another member of the football team and his agent's daughter. So there's slightly forbidden aspects here. It actually starts off as an epistolary romance where these two first meet through text, and that's how they start up their relationship, their friendship. The hero borrows the heroine's car while she studies abroad, and it is so freaking cute because they pretty much become best texting buddies. All the messages that they send to each other, it just makes them new besties. But then when they finally meet in person, he's like, okay, well, I actually really like this girl. I need her in my life because I'm falling so hard for her. So he's just all in at this point. He wants her badly, but she does try to resist a bit because she made a promise to herself never to get involved with her father's clients. I love this book so much. It is one of my all-time favorites when it comes to friends to lovers, football romance, just romance in general. This book is amazing. And then book 3 is The Game Plan, and this is a book that's set after graduation, so the hero is now in the NFL. So he is playing in the big leagues now, and he ends up falling for his best friend's sister-in-law. This is a kind of romance where the main characters have circled around each other for ages. You've seen them teased a bit in the earlier books, and now they finally get their romance. So I do recommend reading the series in order just to get that impact of like this couple being teased. It's another opposites attract kind of romance, and bonus, the hero is a virgin. If you can believe it, this big football player hero is a virgin, and now he finally gets his chance with the woman that he's always wanted. The romance finally starts off with a dare, and it's so hot. It's so good. And then book 4, The Hot Shot, is the latest book in the series, and it probably has the best meet cute ever. The main characters meet at a nude photo shoot. It's for the football team's annual charity calendar where all the guys have to go nude, and the heroine is their photographer. So that's how the main characters here at first meet, when he's showing off all his goods. It is so much fun though. I remember there being so much good banter here. And then after that it becomes a roommate's romance because she needs a place to stay and he offers her a room. It's a friends without benefits sort of romance, but don't worry, it does get steamy. The hero here is probably the sweetest of all the guys, though all the guys are great. They're all such wonderful, good guys. And of course you can't not love the bromances that they have between them. So the Game On series, it's fantastic. If you haven't read it yet, I'm gonna need you to pick it up. immediately. And then speaking of virgin heroes, I do have yet another football romance recommendation with a virgin hero. This is Sacked by Jen Frederick. The hero here has pretty much been saving himself for the love of his life, and he finally finds her when she transfers to his school. The only thing is that she is one of his teammates' sisters, so it should be hands off, should be off limits, but he's not gonna let that stop him. He is very determined to win her heart and make her his. This book is pretty much your classic new adult college sports romance. It's fun, it's lighthearted, and I loved how over the top the hero was with his love for the heroine. He falls very fast and very hard, so if you don't like insta love, this book probably won't be for you, but if you love that kind of stuff or you don't mind it, definitely read this one. It's also part of a football romance series. It's the first book in the Gridiron series. All the books in the series are football romances, though this first one is my particular favorite. And if you like this one, the hero is a twin and his twin ends up getting his own romance later on in the series. And then I'm recommending the Playbook series by Alexa Martin. I'm recommending the first 2 books in this football romance series. There are like 4 or 5 books in the series, but these 2 were my favorite. The whole series is about this Denver football team, and it's actually really interesting because the author herself is the wife of a former NFL player. So we get to see sort of the first-hand experience of that through these books. We get to see the lives of the wives and girlfriends of football players. Book 1 is Intercepted, and we have a heroine who has been dating an NFL player for 10 years. She's been the perfect football girlfriend for him, but then she finds out that he's been cheating, and now she wants nothing to do with football players ever again. Of course, the hero is the new quarterback on the team, and he's also actually a guy she had a fling with years ago. He pretty much spends the book showing her that he's nothing like her ex and that he's the perfect match for her. And then book 2 is Fumbled, which is a second chance romance between former high school sweethearts. The heroine is a single mom, the hero is a football player, and he has had no idea that he is a dad, but he finds out when they reunite, and he pretty much goes all in with not just his son, but with the heroine, who he still loves. He did hurt her years ago back in college, but now he wants a second chance and a chance to make things right. It's a super sweet romance, a little bit angsty just because of all the secrets that are kept between them, but these 2 books in the Playbook series are so much fun, I have to include them in my list. Another football romance recommendation is The Rivalry by Nikki Sloane. This one is such a fun enemies to lovers college romance. The hero, he's a football player, he is the tight end, whatever that means. I have a feeling that because it's Nikki Sloane, she chose the tight end because of the innuendo. So he's the tight end for this one school, and then she is the cheerleader for a rival college. So this is why this book is on the enemies to lovers side. It's more like rivals to lovers. He goes to the University of Michigan and she goes to Ohio State. Did I know about this real life football rivalry before reading this book? No, not really. So you know what? Books can actually educate you, okay? But going back to the romance, these 2 actually meet at a mutual friend's wedding. They don't know that they go to rival schools and they almost hook up at the wedding, but then the hero gets cock-blocked by his friend, so he has to leave to take care of that friend, and then after that they finally do realize that they go to rival schools, and by this time the hero is too deep into his feelings for the heroine, but on the other hand, the heroine is it was so funny how she was just disgusted and horrified that she almost hooked up with a guy that goes to the worst school that she can imagine. They do eventually start up this hot little forbidden fling. She tries to keep them a secret because she doesn't want her family to know, and he's just like, are you for real? So he doesn't really care about the rivalry, but she does. The romance is really fun though. It is very sweet, especially with this hero who just wants everything with the heroine. It's yet another romance with a pursuing hero, so if you couldn't tell, I do love this kind of hero. And then I do have a rec that's more of a rom-com football romance. It's over the top and ridiculous, but I liked it, so I'm gonna recommend it. It's Hail Mary by Nicola Rendell. I mean, you can just look at this cover and know that it's not a book that takes itself very seriously. The main characters here meet at a boxing gym when the heroine accidentally knocks him out, like literally flat on his face. When he wakes up, he immediately tries to ask her out, and when they start talking, he's very surprised that she doesn't recognize him. She doesn't know that he's this big football player, though recently he has been losing quite a few games. He's a well-known quarterback, but he finds it very refreshing that he finds a woman who doesn't care about that part of him. And then to add on top of that, they eventually find out that she's his new physical therapist, and if she can't fix him up, he's gonna be traded immediately. It's honestly a wild read, but if you're in the mood for a silly football rom-com, one that will hopefully make you laugh, as ridiculous as it is, I recommend this one. And then for my next recommendation, if you didn't know, Jessa Kane does have a football romance. She probably has more than one, but this one is my favorite. It's Hefty, which is one of her first thick hero romances. I actually have a copy of her big boy collection in paperback. It's More to Love. It's got her 5 thick hero novellas, including Hefty. So this is a smutty high school football romance novella. The hero is on the school football team, and he is head over heels in love with a cheerleader who is also his sister's best friend. It's classic Jessa Kane with a hero who is obsessed with the heroine. It's not as crazy or over the top as some of Jessa Kane's other stuff. It's a bit more toned down, a bit more normal, but it's still hot and cute and a super quick read. And then my final recommendation is one that is the least football heavy of these books, but it's great if you don't want the book to be all about the sport. It's also book 3 in a series, but you can read it fine as a standalone, though I do recommend the series as a whole. Actually, you know what? There's also a novella after this book that is a football romance as well, so I'm just gonna recommend both of these books. It's the Romancing the Clarkson series by Tessa Bailey. The 2 football romances in the series are books 3 and 3.5. Book 3 is Too Hard to Forget, which is more of a football coach romance, and then book 3.5 is Too Close to Call, which is a football romance novella. So book 3 is a second chance age gap romance with a single dad. The heroine had a fling 3 years ago with her college football coach, but when he broke things off with her, he broke her completely. Now she wants revenge against him by making him miserable and making him regret ever breaking her heart. It's super angsty, it's so hot. We have a hot older man who is just torn up over the younger heroine. So this one is my favorite of the series. It's actually one of my top favorites from Tessa Bailey in general. And then one of the side characters in this book gets his own romance. He's the football player in Too Close to Call. So this novella is another second chance romance between an NFL draft pick and his high school sweetheart. He let her go to play football and he's regretted it ever since. Both the main characters here were faithful during their separation, which I love to see, and I'm so thankful that Tessa Bailey is the type of author who does this kind of stuff with her second chance romances, or whenever the characters are separated, they are faithful to each other. But I love this novella. It is so adorable, so sweet. If you're looking for another football romance novella, something quick to read, highly recommend this one. So those were my football romance recommendations. They're a little bit more than 9, but we'll go with it. I tried to include both the big books and the not so big books. I tried to include both the big books and the not so big books, but let me know what you think if you read any of these books, or if you have your own football romance recommendations, please share them. As always, links to all the books that I mentioned will be down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!